TV component, and then the podcast is more the audio, but it just adds more diversity um, to what the industry is looking for.
One of the things I like about your site is the Hall of Fame. Can you tell me how you came up with that idea and how you choose the right person for that?
So with the Hall of Fame, what we're trying to do is we don't see ourselves as just a publication or a website. We see ourselves, again, I go back to like ESPN. ESPN has multiple shows, multiple channels, multiple things going on, which create an ecosystem for leading sports content. So through Swine Web, what we wanted to do was create a Hall of Fame so people who aren't in the industry or in the industry can celebrate excellence of people who created and paved the way for where we are today. So I thought it was another component of storytelling where we do video interviews with Hall of Fame inductees. We have a nice plaque online. We send the inductees a plaque, and it's just another component of what Swine Web is because we are a publication, we are a news entity, but we are a consolidated community to celebrate the pork industry and inform it. So we thought the Hall of Fame would be an excellent way, again, to provoke more content, more storytelling, and just reflect on leaders that shape the industry. Um, so there hasn't been like a famous formula to get people inducted. It's been based on, research, networking, social groups of just creating that infrastructure for the last 3 to 4 years and inducting two people a year. And that's how we've got to where we are today.
You've profiled lots of leaders in the pork industry in Canada and the US, and some people who are not quite so prominent. What do those stories say about the character of the pork community?
I think the pork industry is resilient, hardworking, progressive, and to me it's a beautiful thing because it's part of the food chain. So we're an important part of the food chain. We have great people, depths of people working in the industry. So right from production, farrowing, marketing, admin, HR, and I think that's even underrated of our industry is the depths. People might think if you raise pigs, you're just a farmer, but there's so many layers of types of opportunities and employment within the industry. And when we're profiling on our Peoples and Profile page, we just want to show the depth of that story and the importance of the story of that person and showcase the resiliency, hard work, and passion.
Almost every time we talk, you use the term storytelling. Okay, that's what you do. You tell stories. And I'm assuming people come to you and say, well, I want to talk about this, or this is a good story, or this is the story I want to tell. What kind of story do you wish more people would pitch you?
There's so many depths to that answer, like new builds, behind the scenes of something. If there is a speaker at an event or a new product, don't just have a press release of what's happening. Have like a depth or a four-part approach to unlayering the story and connecting with the audience. Look at the true value of what the industry wants to know. So JBS has different expansions going on in Iowa. People are loving that kind of news, expansion in the industry. It's more general kind of information, but that's an example of what's happening in the industry. But from authentic storytelling, it's get to the root of what your customer wants, get to the root of your core values, the story, and the human interest part of it, and then try to unlayer the story into more depth. So I wish people would really look at it as an opportunity to tell the story and continue because your story evolves constantly. And it's how you tell that story is what's going to gain traction. So I wish people would look at this as an incredible opportunity to build and tell the story and not just look at it sometimes as here's a press release or here is information and then try to get away from product selling more so and focus on the core competencies of a story. Like when a new facility opens, we've had a lot of Montana pork colonies open new facilities. So getting pictures from the event, photos in the barn, the story about whether it was a rebuild from a fire. So going in depth, who constructed it, what products in the barn. I think going more in depth like that, Dan.
You've told lots of stories, and there's lots of podcasts and videos on your site. If somebody just wanted to sample one, what's one of your favorite videos or interviews that you've done?
So I think the CEO of the industry show, Dan. There's been some great interviews there. We've interviewed 15 leaders of the top 50 production companies in the US. So beyond that show, there's lots of great stories. But what we wanted to do with this show is specifically talk to CEOs in the top 50. Everybody has a different story. So the feedback I've gotten has they learned something new from every CEO that we've talked to, and they want to learn about their opportunities, challenges, and their vision in leading a company forward. And it's that's the kind of journalism that I feel like is what we need to do to go next level in the industry is really talk to the leaders, really hash out the core topics, kind of like you used to watch on like ABC News, 60 Minutes, different executive shows, different sports shows that you would listen to sit down interviews with. So I think as we try to move forward, it's trying to get more of the leaders like that, hearing their voice. And as a whole, on the CEO show, there's been a lot of great interviews we had, like Greg Howard when he took over Christensen Farms, hearing his journey from Canada and how he got to Christensen, John Schwartz and his legacy at Schwartz Farm, still a family-run pork production empire in Minnesota, uh, which was authentic. And then even from, Triumph, Matt England won an award, one of the top influential people in the industry. So talking with a diverse range of people like that, Dan.
You have a lot of advertisers, and I know you help them build their brands. What's the mistake that you see brands just make over and over? What if you could tell them, don't do this, what would that be?
It's just the lack of consistency because the people start and stop and start and stop, and there's a lot of different uh, people change jobs a lot, lots of different decision makers. People are overthinking marketing and communication sometimes, and I think what you want to do is look internally at your company and your product and say, what are we trying to accomplish? What's our story? What's our mission? How do we be better communicators? Because I think the key is efficient communication and consistency. So sometimes they'll start a project, stop a project. There's lots of different things. Some companies aren't as a believer in storytelling and media. So to me, it's the start, stop, start, stop. So what you want to do is build an infrastructure internally with your company to say if it's a core value to that company to say we want to be better storytellers, we want to leverage digital, we want to work with a partner, we've got many tactics that we can do to reach this, we need an editorial calendar, we need a roadmap, let's hit this and drive it hard. I think that's what I'd like to see more of is the confidence to say we want to be great storytellers, we want to build a consistent plan, because what I've seen with clients, this business, with health and fitness, you stick to it, you be persistent, you be consistent, and you got to build and have patience. So I think that was a long answer, but stick with it and be consistent with it and own your strategy. Sometimes people too much, they're like wondering, what is my direct ROI? Is this working? Well, my philosophy is if you're communicating to the right people, you're communicating your story and you're constantly telling your story and building your brand, that's how you build sustainability. Keep your brand in front of them, keep your story in front of them, stay on that strong.
You mentioned a roadmap and a strategy. What's your strategy or roadmap for the next year or two? You got any new series or product features or events or community tools you want to talk about?
We're building a new CRM where we've got an app, swineweb.app, which we're creating more tools to find vets, producers, post jobs, post events, more strategic tools. So we're trying to refine that app in the next 2 years to build more technology to help the industry with that kind of infrastructure. We're creating different ag tech feed additive series, trying to get more specialized with that. And then hopefully looking at like an informational kind of talk show, where instead of traditional podcasts where you talk to a guest, is have like a show, 15 minutes, what's happening in the industry. Have host chat, have two hosts talk about current events, what's happening, bring on some short-term guests, really create kind of not entertainment per se, but more engaging content to continue to drive people through the channel. And then enhance the app, more tools for people beyond just being a content provider, and then just looking and continuing to examine how do we deliver the information our customers want, and all the feedback we get continue to help us drive in that direction.
If listeners to this podcast or subscribers to your newsletter want to support you, what's the single most valuable thing they can send? Is it story tips, data, videos? What would you most like to have?
Any feedback on what to do to make Swine Web better? Any authentic storytelling in the field? I think we need more in the field. And any feedback is welcome, Dan.
If this conversation inspired you, or if you subscribe to the Swine Web newsletter, follow the podcast, share this episode with someone in pork who should hear it. Jim, thank you for 20 years of showing up for this industry, proving that digital is just right to build a community. I'm Dan Simmons, the founder of Continental Search. This has been 20 years of Swine Web. See you next time.
Thank you, Dan.